Okay, so we are going to look at lists, and for that, I'm going to create another list, and I will call it list.html. So by the way, what is list? Okay. Now, list is, of course, whatever list is a means of putting up things together to create a list. Okay. So you can actually put things together to make up a list. So a list can be like somebody will say, I want to do something like pizza. I don't really know how to go about it, or cake, that kind of thing. And then someone gives you an order at which you can prepare it, probably telling you, okay, mix the flour, um, add the eggs or whatever and everything. So from there, you can have a list of, yes, this is the procedure in creating something like this, okay? So a list can also be like questions, okay? Maybe objective questions, or someone asks you, okay, answer the following questions and order. So you can create a list from there. A list can even be as common as being a list, like list of students in class, names of past presidents of Nigeria and stuff like that. So you can create lists, okay? So now, there are two kinds of lists: ordered lists and unordered lists. All right, so hope you understand ordered lists and unordered lists. So lists are ordered when there is actually an order in them, okay? Like a list can be a list like how to prepare your favorite dish, okay? Procedure at which you can use to prepare your favorite dish. So that can be an ordered list, because it's telling you this is the first thing you should do, this is the second thing, and stuff like that. But a list can also not have an order. Like I can prepare a list of names of students in class in no particular order, so you call that unordered list. We also have multi-level kinds of lists, like something like an objective question, okay, or when you have a list inside a list. So that is a multi-level kind of list. So let's get down to it. So I changed my this thing to, I can call it things to buy. Okay, let me just say types of lists. Types of lists. Okay, let me just give it that. So for me to create a list, I have to put, let me say, on ordered list. So I'm going to say on ordered list. So this thing now, I put it in a comment. So there's something we call a comment. If I hold down the control key and press the slash sign, I will put this in a comment. So comment is like a description. We use it like a description of something I want to do, okay? And then that is never going to display in my browser. Like if I open this thing with live server now, I will never see this thing that I typed here. But if I remove it from this, I can actually see it here. So sometimes we also use it to remove a code we don't want it to run. So if you don't want a code to show, you can always put it as a comment. Probably you don't want it to show now. You want to see how things are going. So exactly what we do, especially when you are doing programming languages and you want to debug, okay, you can put things in comments. All right. So unordered lists. So to create an ordered list, I will put a UL. UL stands for unordered list. All right. So I'm going to use emit once again. I will say greater than li. But before I do this, let me give my list a heading. Okay, I can use something like, let me create something like section here. Okay, and I have like a H2, and I can call this states, or rather countries in Africa. Let me just say countries in Africa. Okay, countries in Africa. So I want to make a list of countries in Africa. I can say 5 countries in Africa. So not really all the countries, I can say 5 countries in Africa. So in no particular order, I can say UL greater than LI times 5. So what I've done is that I want to make sure that I create 5 lists as a child of UL. So when I hit enter, you can see that. So I can say number 1, Nigeria, Egypt, Ghana, Ivory Coast, and Togo. So when I have done this, if I save my file, I can actually see it showing me here 5 countries in Africa. And you see, there is no particular order in it, okay? So I can decide to put up most countries. I can say South Africa, LI again, LI, and say Morocco. So now I've made it 7, so I can actually say 7. So I think Morocco is one R in Morocco. So you can see that I have 7 countries in Africa. So this doesn't have any order. So we call this kind of list unordered lists. All right. So in the same vein, let me create a list that has an order. Okay. So I have another section, not like you have to put section anytime you're doing this. I just like to group something, things that are related. I like to put them together to show, okay, these things are related. I put them together like that. So for an ordered list, I can say H2 and I give it, I can say past presidents, past Nigerian presidents. So I want to make a list of the past presidents in Nigeria. So for ordered list, I'm going to use OL greater than LI. Okay, I can say past presidents in Nigeria from, I can say 1999. So I'll say LI times 4. So I will say list LI times 4, and then I can say Olusegun Obasanjo. I think after him is Musa Yaradua, then Goodluck Jonathan, and then Mohammed Buhari. So you can see, saving that, I will have it appearing here, past, present. So you see there is an order, okay? There is actually an order in it, okay? So another question that might arise here is, what if I want this order to be, I want this list to be, must it be 1, 2, 3? What if I want it to be A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth, okay? So I can actually do something here. I can give it a type attribute. Okay. I can say type of, I can use any of these, type of 1, which is the default, capital A, small a, Roman figure I, capital letter, and Roman figure I, small letter. So let me use like capital E. Okay. So you can see that it has changed to capital A here. So when I do something like that, so it has a type attribute. This type attribute is only accepted in OL kind of listing. I cannot use it in UL. Definitely UL doesn't have an order. but I will also show us in CSS how I can convert, how I can make a UL that doesn't have an order to have an order. All right. So this is a list pattern now. So I can decide to start it from somewhere, right? I mustn't start this thing um from A. Okay. What if I want to start it from probably number 11? Okay, because Olusegun Obasanjo is the 11th president of Nigeria. So what if I want to start it from 11? Okay, so I have to give it a start attribute. There is a start attribute here, 11. Now, because I'm using type A, it's not going to say 11. It's rather going to choose the 11th letter of the alphabet, which is actually K. So you can see that it is saying KLMN. Okay, so if this thing were to be type 1, you would have seen that it would have said 11, 12, 13, 14. I think this is actually 12 here. It should have been 12 because Buhari is the 15th president of Nigeria. So if I say type 1 and if I say type Roman figure I, capital letter I, you can see it's saying 12 in Roman figure and so on and so forth. Okay. There is also an attribute called reverse. This is a Boolean attribute, a dead one. So if I say reverse, it's going to reverse the order of numbering. So you can see that it has reversed the order of numbering by putting it up in this order. Okay. So,
Yes.
So those are the notable attributes that we have for this pattern. Okay. So again, there is also another pattern that I can use. I can actually use something like image as a list pattern. I can also use Greek alphabets like alpha, beta as a list pattern. But in that case, I will have to write CSS for it. So let me just give us a quick rundown of how I can do that. So inside my head section, I will write my embedded CSS. So I will simply put up style here. Okay. I'll simply put up style and then I will say UL. I'll look at UL because I want to change the type in UL. So there is this thing called list style type. So list style type, I will select it and I can choose another stuff here. So let's say I choose like lower alpha or lower Greek. Okay, I can say lower Greek. So when I save it now, you can see that my this thing is now alpha, beta, gamma, data, and so on and so forth. The Roman, the Greek method of giving a list. Okay. So I can do the same thing, let me say for an image, but before I put up the image, I need to download the image that I want to use. Okay, so let's say I want to use an image like, let's say I want to use an image like, let's say computer. Okay, so let me just say something like laptop. Since talking of words here, president. So let me say I want to use something like person avatar. So I want an avatar of a person. So I can rather choose a person avatar to do this thing for me now. Okay. So I have this person avatar here that I want to use as my list pattern. So what I will do is to download the image, save it in our folder, and then use it as our URL. So let's say I want to use this guy. I right click on it. I can say save image as. I go to my documents and I reach out for folder and I can simply call it avatar. Okay, I should have an image folder to put all my images inside an image folder. So I have downloaded it. So let me close back this guy and push our stuff. So if I come here, I can actually see that our avatar is here. So with that, I can write for OL. And I say, so instead of saying list style type, I say list style image. Okay, and then I will choose URL. So I'll now say ./avatar.png. So I can actually see it here now, but one thing with it is that this thing is too big. It will become too big. So that's why I'm not seeing it so well. So quickly, let's resize the image. Go to documents and open our folder. Look at it. So easily, you can easily do that using a paint, using the paint app in our phone, in our system. Okay, so I can easily change it probably to 24. Okay, so I have to save it, and when I go back to my page, you can actually see that it is small now. So you can use an image for avatar and so on as an image. So if I come here to increase the list of past presents in Nigeria, let's say I create more lists, I say LI, and probably I put Abu Salami, Abdul Salami, Abubakar, okay, and then probably I put the one before him. I say Sani Abacha. So I will change this thing from 1996, and I can actually see that the list type is following very well. So that is it on working with lists. So with CSS, you can actually change that. And we have seen that we have changed this thing into another kind of list by doing that. Okay, so quickly, let's look at multi-level kind of list. What if I want to create a multi-level kind of list? So one way I can do that, can create a section, and then I will say H2, let me look at geopolitical zones in Nigeria. I look at the geopolitical. So I want to make a list, like if I say any geopolitical zone, I will be able to put up some states that are under it. Okay, so let's use OL for that. So I can say OL greater than LI times, okay, there are 6 of them, so I can say times 6. All right, so in the first one, I will have southeast. Let me say southeast. So within southeast, I will hit enter here. Let me say I use UL now, greater than LI times 3. Let's say I mention just 3 states that are under it, okay? That are under it.
Yeah.
And I will simply make mention of, say, Abia. I will say Anambra. I will say Imo. Okay, so I go to the next one. I can say southwest. Southwest can say UL greater than LI times 3. Can say Lagos, Ogun, can say Osun. So can say south, enter UL greater than LI times 3. Can say Rivers, Bayelsa, and Edo. So can look at northeast. Can say UL greater than LI times 3. So if you just get used to these things, it will be very nice. Can say Zamfara, Borno, and Adamawa. So northwest, north central, UL greater than LI times 3. So Kano is there, Kaduna is there, and Katsina. So north, east, rather northwest. I mixed up things here. Northwest. Actually, what I gave there was northwest. The Kano, the Kaduna, and the Katsina. So I will re-edit this. North central is Benue, Plateau, and Niger States. So you can actually see what I did here. Now, if you look here and you will notice that my list pattern is something else. So I will come inside OL here. I say because it borrowed what I did before. I'll come inside OL here and look at type. Can say type A. Okay, it's still not changing any. So what will I do? Let me just uncheck this guy for now. Let me just remove it for now. So you can see it has returned it back to. So this is still giving me alpha, beta, gamma because of what he did here. But I will do something here. I will say OL last of type, or rather I will say section, the last section, last of type, and I will say OL. So this is what we call emit. I want to target this very one to list style type. I can say list style type. I can choose upper Roman. Okay, so you can see this one remains this thing, whereas this guy remains upper Roman. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whereas the UL remains gamma. So I can also do the same thing. Can copy this, paste it. So I will change this to UL to target the UL there, and I can say list style type should be disk. Okay, so you can see it. It is disk. Okay, so I can say circle. a circle, and you can see it that it is circle, whereas this one becomes. So this is basically how you can create a multi-level kind of list. All right. All right. So are you with me?
I'm with you.
So fine. We move to the next stuff. So we've talked about ordered lists and ordered lists and how we can create different kinds of lists. So we look at another thing called emphasis and importance. Okay. So sometimes in our code, we might like to include emphasis, to lay emphasis in code, or to make something to have an importance. So there's an accessibility code that you can use there. When we are talking of emphasis, you are trying to create or to make something to be emphatic. Okay, so that is giving it something like an italics format. So there is this thing you can use. You can use OL or UL. So, but to get that done, let me come into these points. These are our first 6 here. Okay, so let's look at this paragraph that we created here. Okay, if I want to make emphasis on this text here, let me cut it out. I will put EN there and I will paste the text, Ctrl V, and that text will be important. So let me do something else also here to also make sure that something is an important. I can put a strong text. So strong will make something to be bold, whereas importance, EN will make something to be italicized. So going into that piece, you can see that the text I put on EN is italicized. That is it here. And the text I put here is bold. Now, there's something else we can also learn to do here. Let's say this entire text now. Okay, cut it out and I put strong there. I paste it. Now watch what happened here. When you look at this very text, let me maximize this screen. When you look at this very text, you can see that from this point to this point, this entire text is bold. Okay, but looking at, let me zoom it. Looking at this text, you notice that it is only this point that is italicized, and yet everything there is bold, but it is only this point that is italicized. The reason we are seeing it like that is simple. Maximize this screen. If you look at this text now, you see that a lot of, okay, let me just delete some of them. They are just dummy text, lorem. We can always use to do something. So everything here is covered within strong text. Okay, everything here is covered within strong, but it's only this guy that is what italicized. So it's only lorem issue that will be in italics format because it is in M. But the other ones are all what? Italics. So you can see it.
Okay.
All the text here are bold, but it's only this that is italicized. So this is what we refer to as nesting. Writing a tag within another tag. Also, what you can nest. Also, what you can borrow here is that my strong opened here and it's closed here.